Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. So I have my experience of 30 years. I have not been a founder or an entrepreneur, but I have worked in three kinds of, three distinct kinds of companies, all in Tata Group. First in TCS, where I saw the entire how the US enterprises adopted digital for 27 years. Then we founded Tata Digital, which is a B2C. I saw how India reacted to a consumer app. And third now, so from services to digital to now AI. So currently, the last 1 year, I am looking at many strategic initiatives, not necessarily within Tata Group, but initiatives that Tata Group can pioneer both globally and in India. So, so before I start, so what does the AI? So I know this today's this conference is all about vertical AI and vertical applications, but we look at AI very differently when we look from Tata Group. We look at AI at the whole stack because we believe the opportunities are immense across the stack for everybody, for startups, for founders, for everybody. So this is the stack. You all of you know it. I don't have to go through it. But I think it is important to appreciate, very important to appreciate, that while there is a significant opportunity in the applications, data, software, and solutions, which is where this whole event and this whole audience is, but there is a lot of opportunities today in the layers below. In fact, we did a large study with Cities Investment Group, both globally and for India. In fact, the CAGR for some of these down, which is semiconductors and foundation models, is actually higher than the application and the software. So I just want you to keep this in mind. I'm not going to touch upon any more layers down in this presentation, but just to keep in mind that all the stacks, there's a massive opportunity for all startups, both in India and globally. So why can India lead now, right? And I have thought about it a lot because in my experience, I've been exposed to some of the world's best corporations in my life. In fact, we worked with probably the world's top 8 companies in their entire digital transformation when we were in TCS. But I think we are at an inflection point, and it is very important to understand. While we can say that US is leading in everything, US are doing a lot of things. But I think today there is a level playing field for all enterprises. There's a level playing field. So I'll give you an example. From 2012 to 2015, we implemented the world's largest customer knowledge platform for Walmart in US. It was the largest program done on customer globally for Walmart. Almost 400 attributes of customer, petabytes of data across globally. We all of them brought together. So the mandate was, can you find every footprint of a customer across every touch point? But the problem is the footprints of customers is not structured. The footprints of customer is unstructured. He will call you, there's a voice call. The footprint of a customer is in many other channels. That was the days of Hadoop and big data, obviously. But all we could do, we created the largest data platform. But if you have to do it today, it has to be redone today, completely. Completely redone, because it is not valid anymore. Because the number of touch points that a consumer has, other than your transaction data, which is the most structured data, is humongous. Humongous. So that's why I purposefully made that statement. How do you leapfrog the digital debt? Because Indian enterprises are there. I mean, while in the digital data, while in the digital transformation, cloud and customer data, all of these things the US enterprises did. But today we are level playing. We have unstructured data. So if all the things that I've talked about, I think you will know, vibrant digital ecosystem, talent, the biggest unlock in this slide is obviously the costs have come down. There's a lot of support from government, vernacular models, is unstructured data. I'll again and again say this, that voice data or image data will become the single most gold mine of transformation for enterprises. And I'll give an example. So we have we have Tanishq, which sells jewelry. So far, if you go to a counter and trying to buy jewelry in Tanishq, so they will have an iPad, which all the designs are there. You will ask, so typically what will you say? I'm looking for a earring with this design, that design. So the conversations will be much more intricate. Selling jewelry is a very intricate process. And the people in the counter will try to understand what are you actually looking for. And they will show you different designs on your iPad. But now what we have done is we record those conversations now in real time. It is not rolled out across all Tanishq stores, but it will roll out. So as you speak, that voice data gets recorded in real time. So the system or the point, whatever the system or the iPad point of sale system is able to understand what you want and recommend real time to the sales agents in the counter that maybe this is the earring that you want. So the voice data becomes so important. So important. So that's the point, again, I will say that Indian enterprises have done, because we speak mostly verbally. We are much more, voice is a very big thing. So I don't want to over-labor this point, but I will say that the usage of voice will be single, and I'll talk about Tata Motors case study, fantastic case study in the dealer showroom, how we have changed the game. So I think these are very strong examples of how founders and startups can look at to intelligently use voice, not only as a call center agent to answer queries, but very embed the voice in a customer's buying journey. That's the difference. A lot of people use voice to answer queries. That's a very transactional, input-output. I will say embed voice in the journey of a consumer. If somebody is trying to buy insurance, and insurance is a very complex buying process online, and he has left the cart. But now if you have a voice agent calling him back, saying that this is the reason you didn't buy, do you want to buy this, right? So the voice agent is embedded in the commerce journey. Nobody has done it yet. Nobody. It's very difficult. I'm not saying it is easy, because all we can do is we send a SMS. You left your cart. So you get an SMS. How many people open that SMS? So that's the reason I'm saying that voice becomes a very important aspect of why I think Indian enterprises will leapfrog the digital debt. So this is a very recent data as of May 2025 done by Citibank, Citi's investment arm in globally. So what are the dominant use cases in the world that is going on, right? So if you see, these are no-brainer use cases, right? Code generation, support chatbots, enterprise search and retrieval, data extraction and transformation, meeting summarization, copyright, image, coaching, workflow, and web research. All are horizontal use cases, which is fine, which is rightly so, because that's what the productivity and the efficiency they are getting. But just see the use cases globally, which are horizontal use cases, which are the most used use cases. This is not US, this is global data, by the way. And there are some interesting data points, right? 47% of solutions are now developed in-house. And I'll talk about it, right? Because a lot of people here are founders. So you will battle with in-house developed software, big way. Because there's a very big move by enterprises to own AI within the enterprise. Very big move. So if you see that was 53%, is going down to 47%. And other things, I think enterprises prioritize value over quick wins. I'll talk about it a lot more. But what is happening in India? So that is global, right? So there is a significant progress has been made by Indian enterprises. But then what's the difference? The difference is the bets that people are taking in US versus India. There's a big difference. So in US, there are billion-dollar cost reduction programs done where AI is playing a central role in those cost reduction programs. Indian enterprises haven't yet embarked on that. So that's a big difference, right? There's a change in the bets and the mindset. But having said that, I wanted to show that I can only talk about Tata Group here because that's what I represent here. So we have taken a goal that if we want to implement AI, we should not implement AI for the sake of it's a cool thing to do or because somebody else is doing it and there's a FOMO, we are not doing it. If we want to implement AI, we should set the benchmarks in business outcomes. That means that if you want to implement AI in customer service, pre-Gen AI, right? Rules-based chatbots, menu-driven chatbots used to give us a 20-30% productivity. In fact, I myself have done it 2019, 2020. Support chatbots we have done. Big Basket has done. 1MG has done. But in the post-Gen AI, when you have the tools to, and I'll talk about the tools, you cannot rest with 30%. You have to go with 80 to 90%. So you have to push the bar. We have to push the bar. And that's a big difference because startup founders have to understand this. When you want to sell, you have to sell bold, ambitious outcomes because that's what we look for. We are not going to implement a solution that is going to do 40% savings. Not at all. So I think that's a very important one. And that's why I said 80% cost reduction in one of the largest Tata companies that we have had in customer service. Second is, there is this whole thing about enterprise search and retrieval. Very cool thing, knowledge assistants. What's the adoption? So we did a knowledge assistant for HR. Adoption is not even 5% within the enterprise because they don't see the value. Yes, you will answer some question on what is my insurance policy, what's my, if I get hospitalized, what will be my cover? But that's not the reason for which you implement knowledge assistants, right? So again, we said that if we have to implement co-pilots or knowledge assistants, they have to become integral part of your work. But then how do you become integral part of the work? The product has to be different. The workflow has to be different. The integration of the workflows has to be different. So it's a lot of work to be done to make this happen. It is not a simple sale of a software. So we said that why can't all the people adopt the HR chatbot? For that, the entire workflow had to be reimagined. But that's the thing. The third one on this, safety and quality is of paramount importance for us in Tata Group. We want zero accident in shop floor. So our goal is zero accident. Was it possible before AI? Maybe. But now we said if we can now implement AI in such a way that it helps us solve the cases much more better, which people could not think about in the pre-Gen AI era, That's where the value comes. So we implemented a series of AI solutions in Tata Steel shop floor. So if you know, in Tata Steel shop floor, people have to wear different gear for different things. So people who go to a blast furnace has to wear a separate gear. People who go for a production assembly will have a separate gear. Now the question is, there are accidents because they don't wear it. So we have to real-time monitor what is the safety practices that these workers are adopting and provide alerts. Believe it or not, the number of safety accidents has dramatically reduced in Tata Steel shop floor. Usage of this AI. Second is quality. All of us have Titan watches. The accuracy of Titan watches today, we said that why don't we feed lakhs of Titan watches, images of their watch times into a model. And then in the production assembly, when the watches are coming, check the watch timings. And then the faulty watches, which are not where the timings are wrong, should be flagged as a red alert. So the entire process of the quality check of watch, why is Titan watches become so good, was automated using AI. So the application of AI in enterprises is far reaching and very business oriented and business outcome. That's why it works, when you are able to do these business outcomes. So for safety in Tata Group, we will develop a safety LLM, incorporating probably lakhs and lakhs of best practices across the world and across what we do, because that's the best thing. And I think safety is such an important thing for India that can be a phenomenal solution for India for safety, for everywhere. I think sales and marketing is a pretty well-known one. And so the vertical specific apps that we have developed, KYC, Insurance Copilot, we reimagined the credit model that we used to use for our Tata, for the credit card that we have, Tata New. We said, why can't we have transaction data into the credit model? So we did a lot of innovation around that. So those are some of the ones. This conversational search in e-commerce. Everybody is trying a voice search in the e-commerce site. A lot of people. I mean, Walmart US is tried. Here also, people have tried. And people are successful, though. So those are some of the vertical specific use cases. So I'll just talk about some of the very large ones that makes impact. Because I just wanted to tell you the scale of AI is very huge. It is not, the outcomes have to be significant for enterprises to appreciate the value of solutions that is being sold. So this is a multi-billion-dollar cost reduction for one of our companies. We looked at 7 functions. Each function is getting transformed. I'll only talk about sales. To the sales people, there were 30,000 sellers. The reason for giving these examples is for you to understand from the other side what kind of solutions we look for, right? Which makes what is important for enterprises, right? 30,000 sellers, 30 plus personas. They were selling hardware and software. For every meeting with a potential customer, they were spending 6 hours to prepare for that. So we ingested all the calendars of the sales agents. And we did an observe. We found the patterns of what are they doing in a day through an observe agent. And we figured out that probably almost 50% of a day of these 30,000 people are spent just doing the mundane tasks. So then why don't you automate it completely using, especially Gen AI now? We did that, and the 20% reduction in seller time on content search and 200 million productivity value at scale. The reason why I'm putting these numbers, because these are numbers we believe. If there's no number, then we will not take a solution. We will not take a solution to do a pilot or a POC. So these are the kind of impact that AI solution can create. This is Tata Click. Entire app of Tata Click today is GenAI generated completely. It was the worst for us is to take us 60 days. So, for example, if you see there is a Onam store, right? Just to prepare that Onam store in a Tata Click storefront used to take us so much of time. And we wanted to be much more fast. There's a Onam, there's a Diwali, there's a Karwa Chauth, there'll be so many Rakhi, right? You have to keep on doing these storefronts for this Tata Click. You cannot be saying that it will take us 30 days to prepare all the creatives, prepare all the content, all those, all the setup of the content. So the team itself, we reorganized into completely AI teams. And AI people were infused into every creative function. That we overtook an organization structure change to effect this. It is not that we did a pilot to implement this. The structure itself was changed. The merchandising function was completely rehauled into different structure with AI people and other people, and that's the improvement, 60 days to 2 days, right? This is a good case study. This is Tata Motors. This is a work in progress because we truly believe that we need to do a better job in the dealer showrooms when you go to buy a car. The salespeople in the dealers are not effectively able to understand what you want and effectively to sell to you also. So the intention is to create a sales co-pilot for the sales agents in the dealers, obviously taking voice as a very big example, very big input, and improve the sales and improve the customer experience. We have done certain things, if you can see that, multilingual voice agents, all that we have done, digital assistants, Sherlock AI. We have been able to generate 2,200K leads, 30 crore revenue, but this is a work in progress. But when it is done, this will be a real good example of a reimagination of car discovery and sales for any automotive car in the world. In the world. We want to benchmark ourselves in what the global does here, not what India does. So, this is Tata Digital, again, a phenomenal example of how we improved our credit card, the Tata New credit card. Today it is almost going to hit 4 million. It's one of the successful assets of Tata Digital, the HDFC Tata New credit card. So if you see, there are different attributes. You give free lounge. You give 50% off on jewelry. So we understood that if you are not a flyer, giving a free lounge or showing a free lounge in a Google ad or a Meta ad doesn't make sense. So the entire, so that is the middle of the funnel. So we understood the behavior, what you click, what you don't click, and then surface the right attribute of the card so that it improves the cross sell. The 20% higher application rate for credit card. It's, phenomenally improved, by the way, because of this reimagining customer acquisition completely, end to end. So any process that we have taken here, one thing we have done, we have not looked at it in isolation. We have looked at the whole process, reimagining it, right? So that has been our goal. We will not do something to affect a small part of a process. Either we reimagine the process, reimagine the function, or achieve significant business outcomes. Tata Electronics is building an AI-first factory. Tata Electronics is in the semiconductor business. We are going to build large factories in Hosur, Dholera, and Assam. The first semiconductor for India. Massive investment, but we said that whatever factory we build, it will be for AI first. Tata 1mg, the report that you get from the 1mg labs, it is Gen AI generated, especially some of the things that comes as to what you should do. Currently, it doesn't integrate your previous reports. So what we are trying to do is integrate your, if you did 1 mg 3 times, lab report, lab, then it should integrate your previous things and then give you recommendations properly in the end with a hyperlink. So there's a lot of work in this that we are trying to do. That's the health insights. First one, entire commerce journey is being fed into an LLM model, and then feedback, and then if you see 3x jump in recommendation. So pretty much a lot of exciting projects that we are doing in Tata Group. I think the lessons learned is most important is accuracy, a non-negotiable. Absolutely non-negotiable. It's very difficult. See, I being an AI person, I understand it will never be 100%. But the problem that we have is that with us, as a obviously the quality becomes very important. The customer experience becomes very important. So for the customer service chatbot, the high precision intent detection was very important. So we worked on it. It was a solution that I took from a startup. It took us almost 4 months to fine tune it to get the intent right. Because for example, I have bought certain vegetable from Big Basket. It is not good. I want to return it and all of that, right? So intent detection took enormous amount of time. Then you have to ask smart follow-up question. The follow-up question that you're asking was dumb. So intelligence has to be built in. I mean, if you are returning something, you can't say why are you returning, right? You have to be much more intelligent about it. So that is second. The most difficult one was the workflow integration. So you want to return something, you have to integrate with the workflow. So the problem is that when you are taking a solution, right, the entire job rests with the enterprise to do all of this hard work, right, with all this integration and all that, right. So hence what happened now, enterprise end up doing it themselves. That's the problem, right? Because 20% of the solution, 80% the integration, in my mind. So that's the first lesson learned, that it is not about just buying the solution. There's so much of work that happens after it. So much of work. So, I mean, we had taken Capillary, Matchridden, Resultix, Mo Engage, every possible startup has been there with us. Slang Lab, which is now acquired by Glean for enterprise search. So we have had 12 startups in our ecosystem. Same thing with Search Copilot. So one of the startups in Bangalore came up with his voice search for commerce. We are very impressed in the beginning. And we started a POC, but then we figured out when somebody says, I want a medicine for fever, it is just not able to understand. It is giving something else. Instead of fever, it's a medicine, it is giving some other, completely a different medicine for stomach pain. Just couldn't understand it. So we tried very hard with that product. We could not achieve what we wanted, so we had to ultimately abandon that product. But those are some of the examples, right? When a customer asks, I have this particular issue in my health, what kind of medicine you recommend? You have to better be clear about it. You cannot have something else. You are playing with the lives of a customer here, right? Obviously, health you will know. So that's the RAG is well proven, but it becomes difficult in an enterprise. So Insurance Copilot, we struggled for getting the RAG right. We ultimately got it right, but still extracting graphs from PDFs and converting into structure continues to be a problem. Extracting bar charts from PDF and converting into a proper readable thing continues to be an accuracy of 80%. So there are still a lot of challenges in those. So just to sum up, I mean, the journey is is not at all easy. But having said that, we have been successful. I mean, customer service chatbot, we have got 80% cost reduction. So it just takes the time and the patience to go through that journey. Once you have the time and the patience and the resilience to make sure that we want to make it happen, it will happen. So I think what are the factors for now, having talked about what is the possibility and the aspirations, what you saw in the use case. Now, what does it take to build for this Indian enterprises? Obviously, you have to understand we are from Tata Group, so our expectations of excellence are higher, like any other large enterprise will be. There's nothing different. The things that I will call out here, while I have listed a lot of things, because these are all valid across the whole uh, use cases that we saw. Most important is uh, we have to have very strong ROI focus. ROI focus is the most important. Any startup that came to meet me in the initial days, I said, what will you save? How much will you save? What will you do? And any non-clarity in that is a problem. Clarity of delivering business outcomes. When I say clarity, you have to be confident and clear. You cannot say, in this customer, I have done something, it is important, but you have to be very clear. Total cost of ownership. Data is not well organized. Those are all things that all of us know here. It's nothing new. I will stress a lot on embedded with internal workflows and systems. So I'll tell you what happens here. Most of the Indian enterprises have an SI, either a TCS or Infosys or a Wipro or somebody. Most large enterprises, because their internal IT is not so big, right? Now, what happens is that when a solution has to be implemented, it has to be integrated with the systems, which is the system integrator's job. The challenge with the system integrators is they say, why are you buying it? We'll do it ourselves. Teachers can do it themselves, most of the times. So I think or Infosys will do it themselves. I mean, TCS was there in every Tata company. TCS is there in every bank. They will say they'll do it themselves. They will build a knowledge assistant. How much they will take? It will take a month for them to build it because they can integrate it faster. They know the systems. They have the contextual knowledge of the systems. They have been in that. I mean, you talk about SBI, you talk about HDFC, you talk about ICICI bank. All those, they have the contextual knowledge. It all will take them to integrate it so fast. So I think, but why it doesn't work? Because the solutions that the startup comes is very innovative, very unique. And hence there is a very distinct advantage that you bring to the table, which is innovation. Very unique, very deep focus. But don't ignore that embed with the workflows. I think that's an important point. I'm sure you know it. It has to integrate with SAP. It has to integrate with a JDA. It has to integrate with an Oracle. It has to integrate with Salesforce. It has to do all of that. Because that's the life that enterprises live, day in and day out, which is the systems that we live on. Accuracy is important. So having observed the entire space of, so I have been obviously engaged with a lot of startups for a very long time now. Where do I think are the spaces that Indian startups can play, right? And and I am very convinced that there are significant areas that are today not conquered yet. Manufacturing is the biggest focus of Indian government, biggest job creation, paramount importance for government today. All large enterprises have some facet of manufacturing. Is at least disrupted in AI. Financial services and healthcare, everybody is gunning for those two verticals, which is the right thing to do, but this is not. So AI first plant operation, supply chain, after sales, such a function that can be completely reimagined using AI. The function that is most inefficient today, after sales service. So I will say that India should have 1 to large AI vertical platforms. People are building it in Western world, but it is very key. Second is, there are some functions that have to be reimagined. They are living in the olden world. Yes, Salesforce will come and say we have our agents which will be doing all the things that you are thinking Salesforce is rigid. SAP has jewels. They will say we will do everything that you feel SAP is rigid workflows. So every ERP have all of this. You are competing against also those, right? But end of the day, they have rigid workflows. End of the day, we can only do so much with those ERP systems. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity to reimagine some of the functions, like how legal was reimagined by Harvey, right? In a way. So, marketing is the most obvious choice. Everybody says marketing, right? It's the most obvious choice because it is quite intuitive. But having said that, still there is no one platform that has got that right. So I think there are such functions which I call agentic functions. We have to make the functions agentic. We have to reimagine the function in the new world with a new workflow, not the old workflow that happens today. In retail, there is something called item or product onboarding. It's a very manual function. Those all can be. So I'm saying India should have 3 to 5 agentic platforms at scale. Third is virtual co-workers. Now, what is a co-worker? The co-worker concept is in between a co-pilot and an autonomous. In between those. Co-pilot is just recommendation, decisions. Autonomous is does full job, but there is in between where it also recommends and asks you whether I should automate it for you. So there is co-worker. We can build, so for example, data engineers. In my mind, if any any enterprise company is today got even 500 data engineers, it can be done by 50 data engineers and 300 co-workers. Because everything is repeatable. In fact, we experimented with this. The entire data ingestion, the metadata cataloging, everything can be done by a co-worker. Everything. So, I'm saying that India can have 1 million virtual, and each company can be one co-worker company. You can specialize saying that I am a procurement co-worker company. I'm a financial recon co-worker. You can be a HR co-worker. You can be a data engineer. In fact, there's a large startup in India who wants to build data engineer co-workers and disrupt the entire data engineering. So that's the opportunity in my mind. It will be done. There are several US startups gunning for the third one. It will become the biggest opportunity globally. Biggest. So my last slide, how to sell. I purposefully said large enterprises because that's where I represent. I think the key is that you have to lead with a very wow headline metric. This is where I have struggled personally. When I ask, what is that you can do? I can automate a process, but automate a process also we can put 2-3 people and do it. I think the key is to have this headline metric. It is difficult. It is bold, it is ambitious. It can be nervous also, right? Can I meet it, not meet it? If I commit it, if I can't meet it, what happens? But without that, I mean, see Salesforce, how they're committing. Without even having that agent, they committed. So, this to me is a very important fact that we have to have a very clear proposition and a proper headline metric. I'm not saying the headline metric has to be as bold what I have put, but you need to have that. Because that's what enterprises will look for outcomes, not the task, not the activity. What is the end goal? POCs, you have to hit out of the park. When I say out of the park, I mean, if you see some of the POCs Western enterprises do, I mean, you see how product launches, if you see Satya Nadella launches a product, Sam Altman launches a product, sometimes those YouTube videos that look so good. Manu's launched it. When Manu's launched it, I was wowed by the way he spoke about it, right? So, the POCs have to be so good that the enterprises get just wowed by it. You cannot have an average POC. And that's what happened with a lot of the startup which we worked with. It doesn't work. It is taking time. You press and enter. It's taking 3 minutes for the result to come. And I said, why it is taking 3 minutes? No, it is not in production. Production. It will not happen in production. It's in development environment. But that's not, we cannot do all that. Align with system integrators. I don't know how much it resonates, but I think it is an important factor. Because system integrators take decisions in enterprises. A CEO takes, I mean, system integrators play a super important role in a lot of enterprises. The scale, performance, security will be the constant questions, and it has to be addressed upfront. Develop referenceability, that is clear. I think flexibility. So most of the companies that I had worked with, even if it was more engaged or capillary or everybody, one of my key criteria was that it has to be on-prem. I will not be on cloud. Because for me, customer data of Tata Group is super important. They struggled with it for 6 months and ultimately, but it is important, right? I mean, it's a principal question, but it's fine. And ultimately, you can bring it on cloud and when I'm sure it is be secured. But it is very important to be flexible in your approach. Very important. Coexist with big software products and solutions. I said that. Be flexible to offer on-prem. And again, I think I'll repeat that the solutions that you should put has to be deep. I mean, I think I'm not going to use this session to tell you what you should build. I'm going to only use the session to say what enterprises look for from startups when we buy software or you buy your solutions. That's the perspective I can bring, and that's how I thought I will bring that perspective of what are the lessons, what are the guidance, what are the things I have observed in my journey for the last, even the last 1 year of AI. I met several AI startups, but some of this applies to all of these people, some of them, right? But I'm sure opportunity, as I said, the first chart, massive unstructured data. India, I think, can do, and the previous chart, I personally feel that there's so much of opportunity to do. It's not going to the, so much opportunity, and Indian enterprise can do because we have the talent. And all these things, if you can do, that's it. So I think wish you all the very best and best of luck. Thank you very much.